Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. The 6 states that make up the wonderful region of New England. When it comes to higher education, medical care, and, well, most importantly, professional sports success, let's be honest, nobody does it better than us. I say us because New England is the place that I've proudly called home for the first 36 years of my life. Now, when it comes to roller coasters, I'll take off my egotistical hat just for a second and acknowledge that are we the best of the best when it comes to coasters? Far from it. But there is still a fantastic variety of all sorts of coasters, family to extreme, wood to steel, from the shores of Maine all the way to the Connecticut Panhandle. There's some really good roller coasters in this region. A few side notes before we get started. While I absolutely count them as credits, I have chosen to not include any mountain coasters on this list. Nor will I be including Sea Viper at Palace Playland in Maine, as it's the only potential top 15 contender that I have not personally ridden. So let's get to it, shall we? The 15 best roller coasters of the New England states. We're kicking this off by heading to a park that we may or may not be heading back to a few times on this list. Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts. At number 15, I'm going with Riddler Revenge, their Vekoma SLC. Some claim this is one of the better SLCs. I agree, kind of, sort of. They do have the new trains and restraints, which help tremendously, yes. But did I throw this on the list to appease the enthusiasts that think it's good? I confess, I did, but it's still a very thrilling and extreme ride, so leaving it off would feel a little wrong. But let's make one thing clear, it still ain't great for me, and it certainly doesn't touch Great Nor'easter at Morey's Piers, New Jersey. At the number 14 spot, let's talk about another infamous Vekoma model, the dreaded Boomerang. But we're going to a different park for this one, as it's time to discuss Zoomerang at Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. Another ride that people say is one of the better ones. This time though, I actually agree. While it is still a boomerang, and still a coaster I'm plenty fine with skipping, it's actually decently smooth, and Lake Compounce does a great job of keeping both its track and trains looking brand new. Of the 2 boomerangs in New England, this is inarguably the better one. So yeah, spoiler, flashback at Six Flags, you're not making this list. Lucky number 13 brings us to yet another park, this time up to Canopy Lake in Salem, New Hampshire for Untamed, their 2011 Gerstlauer Eurofighter. The best part of this coaster, honestly, has nothing to do with the ride experience itself. Its look is awesome, with fantastic bear-themed trains, a beautiful station, and maybe my favorite painted supports of any coaster period, made to look like birch trees. But the ride itself, it's a Eurofighter, and not the smoothest one either. It's a fine coaster, good drop, fun inversions, but it's still just a Eurofighter, and an average one at that, and very short. It's just okay. Number 12, a number that's kind of a big deal in New England. While far from the GOAT when it comes to coasters, this next ride certainly puts a smile on your face. Perhaps controversially, at number 12, I'm putting Midnight Flyer at Santa's Village in Jefferson, New Hampshire. I can already picture many of you laughing at how absurd this pick is. I know it's a family coaster, if not a kiddie coaster, but hear me out. First off, it's brand new for 2024 and in a very remote location, so no offense, you most likely haven't ridden yet. Trust me when I say, one of the smoothest coasters out there right now. Absurdly smooth. Well done, Vekoma. You have changed the game with smoothness. Add the view of the White Mountains, add Christmas music playing around you, and add the fact you actually go around twice. You could be the biggest coaster Scrooge out there. You will have a good time in this thing. And everyone, all ages, can ride Midnight Flyer. Isn't joy a huge part of what makes roller coasters fun? Midnight Flyer does exactly that. Maybe more than any other in the New England region. time for number 11, and we're finally going back to a park that we've already been to, as we return to Six Flags New England for Thunderbolt, their 1941 classic wooden coaster. Props to Six Flags, despite being 83 years old, they maintain Thunderbolt extremely well, as it's still a pretty dang smooth ride. Some good drops, pops of airtime, fun laterals on the turnarounds. It's a really fun time. It certainly won't blow you away. It's understandably on the small side in both height and speed, and there are more intense classic woodies out there. But it's a coaster. If the line is short, you'll get on every visit. Kicking off the top 10 with another classic wooden coaster, and a coaster that prior to 2024, the only list of 10 it was making was bottom 10 roller coaster lists. But not anymore, as Wildcat at Lake Compounce, a 1927 wooden coaster, is actually pretty good now. Thanks to the Gravity Group, it received a partial retract that was so sorely needed, and man did they do a fantastic job. The first 2/3 of this ride are actually smooth and have some legitimately fun airtime moments. I say 2/3 because the last third has not been retracked and reminds you of how awful the ride truly used to be. But Wildcat in the top 10, guys, who would have thought? Well done, Gravity Group, and it will certainly not be the last time I mention you guys in this video. At number 9, we're on a theme of classic wooden coasters, splendid splinters, if you will. So how about another one? Let's go back to Canopy Lake for the 1930 Yankee Cannonball. So why did I decide to put this one over Thunderbolt and Wildcat? Buzz bar restraints, baby. Allowing you to get some out of control is this legal airtime. While Yankee Cannonball does have some great moments and is overall very smooth, I will admit it doesn't have the holy crap moments you might find on other Buzz bar coasters, but it's still a very fun ride with some great history, delivering an enjoyable time for everyone. Alright, enough wood and enough old-timey nostalgia. Let's get more modern and extreme, and go back to Six Flags New England for the number 8 coaster, Batman the Dark Knight. A B&M floorless coaster that has been a mainstay at the park for over 20 years now, and is many New Englanders' first big coaster with inversions, this guy included. While one of the shorter floorless coasters, only 2,600 feet of track, it does pack in 5 really good inversions. This thing is a sleeper, guys, and despite its size, many enthusiasts would not consider this a bottom B&M floorless. It's a punchy little beast, and should not be skipped on any New England coaster trip. Over halfway there, everyone, let's keep it going hot. As number 7 is a clone? Yes, but the best of said clone. Let's talk about Phobia Fear Coaster at Lake Compounce, a premier Skyrocket 2. No comfort collars to be seen here, and that is exactly why Phobia is actually really, really fun. The only coaster in New England to feature a launch, a fact that is thankfully ending in 2025. But this thing flings you out of your seat when it gets to the top. And that inline twist with hardly any restraints, with a beautiful view of the mountain and the actual lake compounds. It's both aesthetically pleasing and downright terrifying. Phobia is actually fantastic. So if you've just been to the Busch Gardens parks, give this Skyrocket a try. You will be pleasantly surprised. Let's go to number 6 and to a park we've yet to visit on this list. New England loves the small, tiny parks that have a ton of old school charm, and Quasi in Middlebury, Connecticut is no different. This park is so small you may be able to throw a rock and reach the other side. But thankfully, they have a fantastic family Gravity Group Woody called Wooden Warrior. The very first of these models that have grown to be super popular among all ages. This 2011 ride is a ton of fun. Actual, real airtime, and an overall smooth experience still, something that can't be said for many coasters with Timberliner trains. It may be a little guy and very short, but it 1000% brings some major thrills. For number 5, I sense you might be guessing that I might put a very, very similar coaster to Wooden Warrior in this spot. You would be correct, as yes, making the top 5 is Rosauro at Storyland in Glen, New Hampshire. Yet another family gravity group wooden coaster at what is absolutely a park for kids and families. One could argue a ride of this intensity doesn't belong here, but I ain't complaining. What puts it over Wooden Warrior for me, while both have great airtime, Rosaurus's is non-stop. Ejector, 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 all the way to the brake run. And let's talk about that Zero car. Are you kidding me? So adorable. I will give Wooden Warrior the edge when it comes to smoothness, because this dyno definitely has some bite. But I can't get over just how much you're out of your seat on this thing. A true hidden gem. Winding down here as coming in at the Bobby Orr spot, number 4. We're going to the state of Maine for the first time for Excalibur at Funtown Splashtown in Saco. A very underrated CCI that's been at this park since 1998 and is a sneaky, massive wooden roller coaster. Containing a very unique layout that CCI is known for, it has a perfect mix of airtime and laterals, all in a very pretty setting in the woods. And once again, thanks to a gravity group retracking, it's running as smooth as ever. I admit I was toying with potentially putting Excalibur behind the family gravity groups, as the overall airtime with those two is probably stronger than Excalibur, but I just couldn't ignore the size of Excalibur versus those two, especially adding a really solid theme along with an excellent ride experience. The top 3 coasters of New England, let's be honest guys, it probably wasn't too much of a mystery figuring out which 3 rides were gonna be on top. But the order, hopefully this is where the drama comes in. Drum roll. At number 3, I have Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. I hear the Acers and the Golden Ticketers and the Die-Hard Thusies raising their fists at me. Listen, should Superman be number 1? Yeah, it should. It's what it deserves. It's still 24 years later, one of the best layouts in the world. A top-tier drop with that iconic setting on the Connecticut River, insane airtime hills, the legendary Spaghetti Bowl section, the tunnels, the pure length. It's incredible. Do I really need to say why it's not number 1 though? Maybe the worst restraints in the game. Not because they're that uncomfortable, but just because they are so thick and completely limit and destroy what should be unreal airtime. It's still a wonderful bucket list coaster. It just should and deserves to be so much more. Come on, Massachusetts, Six Flags, Intamin, whoever needs to get the job done, work something out. Please, I beg you, make Superman the Ride legendary again. Anyway, so what's number 2? Only 2 options left. Are we staying at Six Flags or going somewhere else? Oh, we're going somewhere else. For the other major 2000 New England coaster, Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce. When you talk bucket list wooden coasters, not just for the US, but the world, Boulder Dash makes every one of them. The first half of this thing being completely buried in the woods, maintaining its 60-mile-per-hour speed seemingly through all of it, it is incredible. This thing's out of control in all the best ways. The return trip is also fantastic. While maybe not being as fast as the first half, it has some great airtime moments and seems to just never end. If it had one complaint, it's that it was rough, but not as much anymore, as it received multiple installations of GCI's Titan Track over the last few years. Boulder Dash is a Connecticut and New England icon, and I don't think many of you would argue that it's without a doubt a top 2 coaster in New England. Finally, we have made it to the number 1 spot, and we have a coaster that maybe, potentially has some bias from your host here. But I don't care, as I didn't even think twice that the best roller coaster in New England is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. When it comes to RMCs, it's one of the shortest in height and smallest in terms of land area. But my god, bias aside, I truly think this is the best RMC that's under 125 feet tall. It has some of the best pacing of any coaster that I've been on. there's no ways to track anywhere. Inversions with amazing hang time, a phenomenal double down, wild Outer Bank elements after Outer Bank elements. Even going into the brake run, you get beyond tossed out of your seat. This is my most ridden coaster ever, and still, I'm blown away pulling into the station. Everything you like about RMCs, if not the tallest or the fastest, is exemplified in Wicked Cyclone. A true gem of a roller coaster that made me the enthusiast I am today, and I am so blessed and thankful it's at one of my home parks. So there you go, everyone, what I believe to be the best 15 roller coasters in my home region of New England. For those that have been on many of these rides, how do you think I did? Post your agreements or disagreements in the comments below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts. And for those new to the channel, it would mean the world if you could like this video and subscribe should you so desire. Thank you so much for watching. I have some really exciting stuff and trips coming up on the channel in the next few months, so I hope you'll tune into those videos as well. As for now, I'll see you guys next time.